Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Breakfast Central. It's drama upon drama today. We're looking at what's happening in the 10th Assembly and how they have reacted to the Ways and Means funds. We ask, okay, that you react on social media as well so we can take your tweets when we look at what Nigerians are saying. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogi Ogmawa. Of course, also still taking a look at what's going on in Edo State with the primaries as they gear up for the elections. Of course, with Nigeria's economy and the challenges over there, there's, of course, news that very likely would come up on actions being taken by the CBN against cryptocurrency platforms. These and, a couple of other things we'll be talking about today as we get deeper and deeper into the month of February. We also have Adebola Adeduba joining us to bring us breakfast headlines. Good morning, Adebola.
Osaoge and Olive. Good to be here. Well, with the many issues still yet in Nigeria, but well, it feels good to be here. I mean, I can't but mention one statement making the rounds, and that's a comment made by the leader of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, talking about protests in Nigeria being sponsored. I mean, I find such comments very upsetting, highly insensitive, and so out of touch of reality of the average Nigerian. If you say protest in Nigeria is sponsored, how about the price of the naira to $1, which is tumbling to 1,900? How about a bag of cement, which used to go for 5,000 to 8,000, now amounting to 15,000 naira? Yesterday I was having a conversation with the bean cake akara, like we know it's seller, just down the road in my house, and she was complaining to me of how a pint of beans, which used to go for about 4,000, and now 2,000 rather, and now she's purchasing it for 5,000 naira. A derika, a full cup of rice, which we call in our local parlance a cup of a derika of rice, used to go for 1,300, now goes for 1,400. I mean, it's just crazy. You have tanker drivers going on strike. You have fuel scarcity. I mean, the issues in Nigeria, it's enough to cut your lifespan by half. My advice to anyone out there is look for a happy place, a happy thing, a friend, watch comedy, talk to a loved one, talk to your friend. And just to try to, ease yourself out of the depression,
I mean, you've really hit the nail on the head. It's a tough time to be a Nigerian living in Nigeria. And just like you've rightly said, we all need to look for sweet spots or the little things that can keep us happy. I think it's also a good time to mention that we look around our family members, our well-wishers, and our loved ones, and look for ways in which we can show support, because we are all in this together. It's hitting us real bad. So if there are people in your family that on a normal day would struggle to make ends meet, and you can afford to maybe live a little more comfortable than them, this is a good time to share. To reach out and, even if it's money or rice, every little thing right now matters. A cup of rice, a bottle of oil, whatever we can do to help people around us, your security guards, your house helps. Now is the time to start to reach out to people because people are hungry.
The challenge that I have with that is, that is the stereotype, Nigerian way of adjusting. Now we're leaning towards comedy. Now we want to support each other, we comfort each other, hug, just have, a better community and understand that other people are suffering, so help them out and all of that. That is the regular way of, Nigerians adjusting to horrible governance. That's the regular way of Nigerians adjusting to a failure in governance, which, of course, I've always supported helping people out, buying food for people, and helping those who are poor. But I feel like, we should have gotten to that stage where while we do that, we should not do that alone and continue to adjust. We should be able to tell the Senate president that he is, unserious with the statements that he's making. We should be able to tell the Senate president, that he is not being accountable to the Nigerian people with those type of statements. Same thing with the president, same thing with our governors and local government chairmen, permanent secretaries. Everybody who's in a position of power today should know that the Nigerian people will not take nonsense anymore. And that's really where we should be.
Yeah,
as
so
much as we want to comfort each other.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, we don't have to comfort each other in isolation, right? You're doing that, but holding the government to account has never been in question. I think that should be the barest minimum.
I don't think we've ever done enough, and that's what gives, the president.
How much power do the Nigerian people have? Like, really, when we say, oh, we're not doing our best, what do we expect Nigerians to do, really, at this point? What can people do? The only other alternative that we've seen for a number of people, which is also very sensitive, is people protesting and saying how they feel, but we're not, of course, encouraging people to protest. So right now, the average Nigerian feels a bit helpless. The most we can do is to continually talk about it, using our voices and our platforms as much as we can.
Well, peacefully protesting is not illegal, so it's not like you have to back out every time you mention it and say, well, we're not encouraging people to protest. There's nothing illegal about it. If you feel aggrieved and you want to protest, go ahead and do it.
But how much change?
It's legal.
Will the protest?
We need to go.
You know what? We will get into this when we look into the meat of today's
well, we're pressed for
Adebola,
time. Okay.
Would have you bring us breakfast headlines, but let's share what our top stories this morning are.
All right, this morning the APC declares Edo gubernatorial primaries inconclusive.
It's about
not
time.
Very shocking.
And police detain Labour Party chairman. Of course, Abure has been all over the news. We did have reports that he's been released, and we'll bring you updates on that.
Yeah, too much happening in Edo State, unfortunately. Ensuring child safety and social welfare. We're taking a look at that also.
And we head to social media to find out what Nigerians are saying. Your tweets are welcome at News Central TV. And
as always, we share with you what the major stories are making headlines across the newspapers this Thursday morning. But first of all, breakfast headlines with Adebola Deduba.
Hello and welcome to Breakfast Headlines here on News Central TV. I am Adebola Deduba. We begin in West Africa, where in Edo State, Nigeria, where the national chairman of Labour Party of Nigeria, Julius Abure, has been taken into custody by Nigeria police in Edo State on Wednesday. The circumstances regarding his arrest in Benin City is still sketchy, but we understand that it may not be unconnected with allegations of an assassination attempt on the life of a member of the Labour Party, purportedly sponsored by Julius Abure. Following the controversy that trailed Saturday's governorship primary in Edo State, the All Progressives Congress, APC, has removed Governor Hope Uzodimma as chairman of the Elections Committee. And this was disclosed in a statement issued on Wednesday by the APC National Organizing Secretary, Sulaiman Agungo. The Imo State governor was replaced with his counterpart from Cross River State, Basi Oto, who was formerly the deputy chairman of the 7-member committee. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Kemi Nana Nandab as the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, NIS. According to a statement on Wednesday by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, Nandab's appointment would take effect on March 1st, 2024. She will be taking over from Mrs. Caroline Wuraola Adepojo, whose term in office expires on February 29, 2024. And let's head to Senegal, where 15 candidates in Senegal's delayed presidential election have accused President Macky Sall of ill will, saying they will take action to ensure a new poll date is swiftly established. The announcement came as the civil society collective Protect Our Elections said it had organized a new rally for Saturday. And now to South Africa, where the country plans to hike taxes and increase spending on social grants ahead of a general election in May amid sluggish growth and high debt. The Treasury announced increases in income tax as well as alcohol and cigarettes duties as part of a national budget unveiled a day after President Cyril Ramaphosa announced general elections on May 29. In East Africa, the president of Cuba's National Assembly, Estanislao Hernandez, has traveled to Kenya to seek clarification over recent unconfirmed reports which suggest that 2 Cuban doctors were kidnapped in Kenya in 2019 had been killed. The doctors Acel Herrera Correa and Landy Rodriguez Hernandez were kidnapped by Al-Shabaab militants as they traveled to work. An Ethiopian army drone strike has killed dozens in the Amhara region. According to eyewitnesses and hospital sources, the attack reportedly occurred on Monday near a small town called Sasset in the central part of the country, while a truck was dropping off passengers. The Ethiopian army has been engaged in combat with a local militant group called Fano since April last year. And that's a wrap on Breakfast Headlines. It's back to Osaogi and Olive.
Thank you very much, Adebola, for those stories. Like I said, Edo State seems to be getting all the attention, first of all with the APC primaries that have now, of course, been cancelled, and the arrest of the Labour Party Chairman Julius Abure. A lot of drama coming from my home state. I'm not surprised, with the cancellation of the AP, or how the APC primaries turned out.
As it should have.
I've always argued, I mean, I'm not the only one who has said this, that if you can't carry out successful primaries, you can't govern. If you can't do something as simple as holding primary elections to nominate your candidates, then you're not ready for governance. Neither, should anybody trust anything that you offer them with regards to governance. So I would like to see how it eventually turns out, who eventually they will select or pick out, to be their candidate. And of course, the Labour Party, it's looking like an implosion. From the old report, he was accused of with murder charges, assassination attempt, I'm not sure which it is. Really, really shocking and surprising, but we'll see how it turns out.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more regarding cancellations of the primaries in Edo State. It's a step in the right direction. Let's hope this time around they would right their wrongs and then, do things accordingly. Hopefully, let's see how that pans out.
Well, all the best to APC in Edo State and all the best to PDP. I believe PDP will be getting some feedback from PDP today. We hope that it's not a repeat of what's happened with the APC. Adebola, we'll see you at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining us as always.
You're welcome.
All right. And now let's go through the top stories today. Of course, remember that at some point, we will open the phone lines and afford you the opportunity to call in and share your thoughts on what some of our biggest stories are. But for now, we'll go into our top stories after this break. The All Progressives Congress APC says its governorship primary election in Edo State was not completed. The ruling party said a new primary will be held today to determine its flag bearer for the September 2024 governorship election in the state. According to the National Publicity Secretary of the state, Felix Morka, the APC NWC at its emergency meeting held on Tuesday, February 20, 2024, deliberated on the poll and resolved that the exercise has not been completed.
If you recall, Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State and the chairman of the Edo Primary Election Committee declared Dennis Idahosa, a member of the House of Representatives, as the winner of the contest after he polled 40,483 votes to defeat all the governorship hopefuls in the race. Now, following Uzodimma's declaration of Idahosa as the winner, the returning officers of the various local government areas in the state announced Sunday Dekere as the winner of the primary, while Monday, Okpebolo, who's a senator representing Edo Central and governorship aspirant, claimed that he won the election with over 6,000 votes. Meanwhile,
former Edo State governor and current senator representing Edo North, Adams Oshiomhole, has spoken on the rumors of zoning within the party ahead of the primary today. Take a listen.
It's true, I went to see Mr. President, and it is about the Edo governorship primaries. As I'm sure you know by now, the NWC had reasons or cause to review the governorship primary that was conducted last week, as the controversies arising from the conduct of that primaries. And so today, as a party member and of course a leader of a party in Edo State, I came to discuss some of the issues that I think are relevant, and also in order to ensure that the APC family in Edo State, conduct themselves in a manner that the president will be proud of the outcome of the primaries. Because at the end of the day, after the primary, we are going to face the main election. There have been a lot of rumors which I thought Mr. President should speak to, and I needed some clarification from him because as the leader of the party, there are a couple of things that I want to be sure that I know where he stands. One of them is the issue of zoning. The president has affirmed that he has no voting right in Edo State, even though Edo State people have voting right to vote for the president. And therefore, what matters to him is to ensure that APC members in Edo State in a direct primaries participate in a free and fair primaries. That is the decision of the president. There have been rumors in the air that there's probably zoning to one area or zoning to another area. The president said, as far as it's concerned, it's committed only to free and fair primaries, not based on zoning. Because you don't do zoning at the eve.
Well, that's the former governor of Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, of course, who is now in the National Assembly representing Edo North. Speaking with regards to the primaries that, what was meant to be primary elections in the state. I think that there was a part of his statement, where he said, the president rather also said that he wasn't really keen on, turn by turn arrangement, for elections, and of course for primaries, which would have sounded very hypocritical. I don't know if we're going to get to that part of his statements. But of course, like I said earlier, a party, it's kind of hard to convince anyone that you are ready for governance if you cannot hold, something as simple as primary elections among your own party members. And we're not talking now about, an election where you have members from other political parties, rival political parties, opposition parties also contesting. This is a primary election within your own party. It's hard to convince anybody that you are ready, truly ready for governance, and you're bringing forth the best hands for the job if you can't hold something as simple as primary elections.
Yeah.
And that's what we saw in Edo State. And it's not completely condemning. You want to assume that maybe there were some technical issues here or there. There were some, electoral issues here or there that made it difficult. But electoral primaries that produced three different candidates, declaring themselves winner. Hope Uzodimma, who was, of course, the chairman of the Edo Election Committee, declared one winner. I can't remember what's the term now. Well, anyway, two other winners were declared, at the end of that day's election. And so I don't know what they're going to do next, and how they're going to bring people together today to eventually carry out another primary election to produce.
Well, I think to look at it from a positive angle, I would say that they're trying to do the right thing, realizing that what they did was a sham of an election. So, because what could have happened would be that they would keep on fighting, everybody insisting that their candidate is the winner of the election. So yeah, it's great that they're giving themselves another opportunity to do the right thing. And hopefully they get it right this time, because what would be an utter embarrassment would be that even the second time, there is still a replication of what has happened at the first primary elections. And it's quite an interesting thing that two parties, the two leading political parties in Edo State, will be having their primary elections today. The PDP is having their primary elections today. APC is having their primary elections today. Edo State is going to be hot. The news tomorrow will be quite interesting and full. And we did have Dennis Idahosa join us to talk about the PDP and how very adequately prepared they are, and how we would not expect to see the sham that the APC conducted in the election. So we wish them all the best. May the best man win on both sides. But like you said, it's also a reminder to us and a reflection that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because at the very least, a party primary elections shouldn't be as complicated as what we're seeing. This is a state that would organize a statewide election to pick one winner of to pick the overall winner that would be the governor of the state. So if this is what we're seeing at the primaries, it's a little scary. But thankfully, APC is not the party that automatically has to rule the state. There are other parties. And we'll see how the other parties run their primaries. Maybe we'll get a better example of how primaries should be run.
I agree. For me, it shouldn't be shocking, but for me, it is still, once again, a reminder of where we are, with regards to the type of politics that we play, and the type of elections that we carry out here in 2024. It's just a reminder, and also a reminder that these political parties have not been able to wipe that stain off them, the stain of not being able to do something as simple as carry out primary elections, which should not be rocket science. It's really just calling party delegates to line up and vote for who they choose.
And it's also a representative of how greedy they are. Everybody wants to be, like we really do have this "it is my turn" mindset. Everybody wants to be a leader, because how in one party do you have three winners that claim that they were elected, they were duly elected as the winner of the election?
By thousands of votes even.
This one is giving 40,000, over 40,000. Like we're seeing the numbers and we're wondering, in one party, you can't even come together to agree and say, for the interest of our party. What, do they even have party ideologies that they believe in? Why are all of you throwing yourselves in one party if everybody feels like my needs, desires, and wants to supersede that of the party? Yeah. So does the party really have ideologies that is driving it?
And also the argument, against zoning, might not necessarily fly, because it's still not been taken out of the conversations concerning elections in Nigeria. We still haven't moved away from the idea that everybody wants a chance, right? And there are zoning agreements and arraignments that have been agreed, many years ago. I remember that months ago when we were talking about Edo State elections, there was this agreement that it was time for Edo Central.
Yes.
So when Adams Oshiomhole is saying that he has spoken with the president says, oh, he just wants the
free,
best
fair
hands, free and fair elections and all of that. It sounds great, that should be it, but at the same time, I feel like politicians pick on zoning when it will favor them.
Exactly.
So when it is going to come their way, then they're all for zoning.
It's the same thing we saw at the national level as well. Yeah. When you say that, oh, there's certain things, eggs or apples and oranges, but I think we can compare. When you say, oh, it's not about having people from the same faith, so long as they know how to do the job.
Exactly.
Right? But the moment it doesn't favor a particular sect, then you get upset and say, oh, we're not adequately represented. Very true. I think we need to, as a nation, decide, are we zoning or are we not zoning? Are we choosing the best man for the job?
Or not.
Or not.
And also, the president saying that, they want the best man for the job and he wants free and fair elections, when he campaigned with "it's my turn."
The irony.
The irony of it. So your campaign slogan was simply "it's my turn," so not "I am the best."
So that's reflective of the party's ideologies. It boils back to what I was saying earlier about how everyone thinks that their ideology or they themselves are more important than the party. Anyway, let's move away from there to give more updates. The current deputy, we're looking at Nigeria's party politics. The ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State, southern Nigeria, yesterday put finishing touches to its preparations towards the party state governorship primaries. The current deputy governor, Philip Shaibu, is one of those contesting to fly the party's flag come the governorship election in September. But he faces strong opposition, especially from Aso Ighodalo, who many feel may be the favored candidate. News Central's Bernard Akede had an interview with the state party chairman on what to expect come the primaries that we hold today. Let's take a look.
We are 90% ready.
The state chairman of the ruling People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State, affirming the party's preparedness for the forthcoming primaries, which holds tomorrow.
The venue is being prepared. The delegates, most of the delegates are in town already. We're expecting the panel to come in from Abuja. And generally, we are ready for the primaries tomorrow.
Unlike what was witnessed when the opposition held theirs last week, the PDP chairman said this election will be held in one place, the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin, and not across different wards. On getting to the stadium, preparations were almost concluded.
The accreditation will start at 8 a.m. At the Mackay, that's the former Edo Hotel. They will enter dedicated buses from the Mackay straight to the venue of the primary, which is the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium.
10 aspirants, including the current Deputy Governor, Felix Morka, will be jostling for the governorship ticket, and the chairman says the elections will be free, fair, and credible. He also used the chance to take a dig at the opposition APC after the drama that followed their party primaries.
I imagine it's going to be a fierce contest. We're going to be very competitive. That is why we are going the extra mile to lay out a very elaborate process that will be free, fair, and credible and transparent, so that anybody that loses, we know that yes, he lost, not because he was rigged out or because the process wasn't favorable to him. We don't ever do primaries and 4 candidates will emerge. It's only the APC that can do such things because they are capable of running everything aground, just as they have done the economy of this country.
The ruling party in Edo State will be hoping that the best aspirant wins these primary elections so as to have a good chance at the governorship elections come September this year. In Benin for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Now we move away from Benin, Edo State, to talk about what's happening all across Nigeria. But we certainly wish all the people of Edo State the best as they plan towards their primaries, the primaries in PDP, the primaries in the APC. I think today is going to be a full day. I wonder what it's going to be like in terms of the free flow of traffic, because, I mean, there's going to be convergence of the 2 biggest parties in the state. And, you know, I wonder what it's going to be like in Edo State.
I mean, it's just party delegates that are going to be taking part in it. It's not, you know, the whole of Edo State. It's not every
True, to be fair,
one
yes.
with, you know, a voter's card. It's members of the party. I'm mostly looking forward to seeing the results from the Philip Shaibu and Aswe Godalo, you know, in court rivalry, or tussle, rather. Aswe Godalo has, you know, in the last couple of weeks or months, you know, run a very, very interesting in-court campaign. His popularity has continued to, you know, increase, you know, in the last couple of months. Philip Shaibu, of course, is mostly, I believe, leaning on his popularity as, you know, deputy governor.
And I wonder what the current governor, Mobaseki, you know, his body language, because it's been a constant battle between him and Philip Shaibu. Even though right now they seem to have mended fences, I'm not quite sure what the, you know, the situation, the mood and feel is like between the both of them, and how that will play out in the primary elections. But I'm sure that we'll find out more details about that by tomorrow, because we'll have more news, and then we'll discuss that here on Breakfast Central. We're going to break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at how this economy affects children who are the most vulnerable in the society. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. As Nigerians continue to struggle economically, children are among the biggest concerns. All children must live in safe, permanent and stable environments that support their well-being with access to proper education. Now, many private and community-based organizations are involved in providing for children's well-being. But sadly, in places up north, we've heard of unsafe environments, killings and serious injuries caused to children as a result of social upheaval and insurgency.
Now, in the aftermath of attacks, war and disaster, child welfare services may apply only the essential measures to keep children alive, such as emergency feeding, shelter, and simple public health precautions. Now, this goes beyond just school feeding programs. We, of course, have a lot more to expand with these conversations and to look at the hope of the average Nigerian child in Nigeria. Our guest today is an advocate of children's welfare and less privileged in Nigerian society. She's the administrator and co-founder of Nima Memorial Care Foundation, based here in Lagos. Welcome, Zainab Mohammed Abdul Malik.
Good morning. Good morning, esteemed viewers. In my view, Nigerian government need to get up and help the children with providing them with good food, helping their families, giving them family support, and also creating like a support club, I would call it, like having, what do you call it now? It's like a club where you have children helping them out with skills and stuff like that, apart from the education itself.
Okay. But maybe before we even go to what they need to do, maybe what we need to find out first is, as a people, we all know how the economy has hit us, we the grown-ups. So maybe you can give us a picture of what the current reality is for children in Nigeria with all these economic hardships.
It's really hard. It's very difficult. Children are suffering. They can't feed well. Their parents can't feed well. They haven't got good shelter. With all this abduction here and there, bandits doing this, basically not stabilizing them. They've had to leave their place of residence, like their villages and stuff like that. They're basically displaced. So that security has to be in place first. Settle them, maybe have like a shelter, well secured, and stuff like that, if I make sense.
Are these problems similar across the country, or does it, does the severity vary in different parts of the country?
In the north, yes. It's very severe in the north. But it's happening down the west. I think a little bit of east as well, but southeast and so on, I think that's more political. The northern one is more severe, and it's coming up this way as well. So,
I mean, it's an unfortunate situation that we're starting to see that. I mean, you've highlighted the kidnappings, and I often wonder what this might do to the mental health of children. Being born in a time like this when there is no stability, the trauma that these children would have built over the years and how much they would need to work through that. But now what we're looking at is basic survival, being able to feed and being able to go to school. But some of the concerns that Nigerians have are, we've heard of a lot of schemes that the government embarks on to be able to provide for these children, but some of them have ended up becoming scam. So what would you say, what is the role of government, and what role can private civil organizations play in ensuring that we get to this end goal of providing for children and guaranteeing them not just feeding, but safety and security in times like this?
Safety and security. That's why I mentioned the support club. Like with what we do at CMC, we take on some children, empower them in terms of training them on some sort of skill, and also I bring some of them into my house, look after them. Like I had one from Benue. When they had this crisis, I think this was around February or so last year, when they went to attack them at the
IDP camps?
IDP camps. Yeah. So she got introduced to me because she was planning to do her SSC exam. So I brought her to my place. She was meant to start school in Oregon High School. So things like that. People can sort of set up that sort of plan for them, have them properly educated, feel welcome as a child in the family, and at least give them that reassurance rather than having to think about the trauma of what they went through in the kidnapping process and all
and this is a very laudable, move. It's great to be able to give children that succor and support. But my fear, and I'm sure that a number of Nigerians can resonate with that, the intention you're working with, the state of your heart. If other random people decide to go and pick up these children and bring them to their homes, there could be an increased case of abuse. So how do we forestall or prevent situations like this that ordinarily should be good moves from becoming something that would further traumatize the children? How do we set up systems and structures to regulate that?
This is where the government has to come in. They need to set up like a home, care home for them, and have people with experience of looking after children and all that sort of thing. So I think the government needs to work with the general community, especially people like CMC and to mention the rest of them. So, yes, the government has to work together with organizations, organizations to help the children.
Yeah.
So
now we're talking millions and millions of children. Even here in Lagos, if you simply just drive around Lagos, the streets seem to be flooded even more now with these young ones
children
that are
hawking,
homeless. The ones. I mean, the ones that are hawking have always been there. Now you just randomly see children. 5-year-old, 7-year-old.
It is still doable with the government coming together with organizations who are into children welfare and stuff like that. It is still doable.
The Nigerian society hasn't, or the Nigerian government, I don't know which now. Would you say that it has failed to show that it cares for the Nigerian child?
To me, they have failed. They have failed totally. Because you can't have young children on the streets like that and the government is not doing anything. The social welfare should be there. The, I don't know what they're called here, but generally social welfare should be Ministry of Social Welfare and probably the First Lady's office or something. They must do something. It's like everybody's just turning deaf ears and closing their eyes, even though I don't know what is in their mind. But when I go out, I try to speak to some children, adults, maybe sometimes you see them with their parents begging for money and things like that. What do you do as the mother? Do you want a job? And so on and so forth. Or do you want a business so that you can have at least 1 or 2 things generating income so you can look after your children and stuff like that. And I find that a lot of them don't go to school anymore because they can't afford it. So this is where the government has to come in, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Right. And just to paint a clearer picture of what we're talking about here, and I would mostly refer to the examples that I can see every day. In traffic, there's those who are not helping to clean your windscreen, they're just begging for food.
Yeah.
They're just begging for anything. Some of them would say, just buy me food, don't give me money. These people are vulnerable. You're not vulnerable to those who will sexually assault them, those who will use them to commit crimes, those who will abuse them physically, those who would, there's so many things
to drugs or something.
Exactly. There's so many things that make them vulnerable. And, it's a good thing you mentioned the wife of the president, because every single presidency and every single government house, the office of the first lady always claims that that's what they do. They're there to support the women and the children. They have these, systems that they supposedly set up, for women and children. But that doesn't seem to change the statistics with the child welfare across the state.
Because they say, but they're not putting it into action, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry to say that. They say it, but it's not happening. So we need to deal with that. We need to appeal to the government on this issue. They have to do something. We have to see it being done, not just saying by mouth.
Yeah.
Right. And as we talk about the role that the government has to play, what role do you think religious organizations, we've talked about civil societies, but what is the impact of religion and culture in where we are? Now we have over 20 million out-of-school children. And with every passing day, you say you speak with some of these children and their mothers and ask them what they want to do, why they drop out of school. There's some of them that have seen this as a way of life. And even if you try to provide an alternative, they wouldn't. Even for the longest time, the conversation about the Almajiri system and how it's entrenched in their culture, has been subject to argument and debate. So what would you say, how can religious institutions key into this conversation to help change their minds and, make life better for these young ones?
With religion. They can also have charitable stuff in their churches, educate the children into the words of God and what they would do. I'm sure there's some empowerment programs the churches can also organize just as good as the government. So they can educate the children more. Like in the Islamic children were, I mean, I'm a Muslim. Quran does not encourage you to be begging. What he's saying is, look for where you can get source of income, like ask if you can be a cleaner somewhere, if you can do this, if you can do that. But most people, most of these almajiris,
they hop on some form of
you know, they just pick
to be able to
one
beg.
excuse
Yes.
and use that,
Yeah.
which is wrong. That's not what the Quran is preaching. And I'm sure it's the same thing in the Bible. Nobody
Yes.
wants you to go on the street and be begging.
Right.
Yeah.
You must have something doing. If you're not doing something, you're definitely not serving
So
God.
definitely the
So
religious institutions have a role to play
they have a
in
role
being able
to play,
re-educate
educate
Nigerians.
them more
Right.
on what the Word of God says. Educate them more morally, what moral says. You cannot live on begging.
Right.
You must do something.
Let's talk about, as quickly as possible, your organization, you know,
Yes.
what you've been doing to help indigent children, especially in this time when Nigeria is facing economic hardship.
Yes. CMC brings in children. We give them like training on different things. We introduce them to different like establishment. Like when my late daughter was alive, she takes them into her hair and beauty salon, trains them. After the training, if they want to work with her, fine. If not, she empowers them and they move on. At least they have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Then I have a boy with me who hopefully is training on IT as well. I'm not an IT person, but I've introduced him to someone who is training him. Eventually, he's going to have something to fall back on. We're a small organization, but we're trying our best. And I believe other people, whether big, medium, or large, can also do the same.
Yeah.
And but like I said earlier, the government has a big role to play. If they set up like a social club for the children, have different sections of those who can train them to what they can do and have something to fall back on. Everything is not all about going to university and this and that. Yes, you would go, but you must have something on the side to fall
That you're
back on,
doing.
so that you're versatile in whatever you're doing.
And I think that what you're doing
Yeah.
is great. Like you've said, we call on the government to do the work that they need to do to support children, because in times of economic hardship, women and children usually are at the receiving end of this. It's such a pleasure to have spoken with you, Zainab Mohammed Abdul Malik. We wish you all the best for what you're doing in your organization.
Thank you
Very
very
much
much.
for stopping by.
All right.
I hope
We're going to
everything
break,
will go well.
and when we come back from this break, we're going to be heading to the streets of social media to see what Nigerians are saying. Stay tuned. It's time for us to head to social media to see what Nigerians are saying about some of the biggest stories. Now, due to the recent economic hardship that Nigerians have been facing, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been criticized immensely for a number of the policies that he made upon getting into office. Now, whilst he's gotten a lot of criticism, he also has gotten some support from Nigerians, and one of which is Adamu Garba, who has called for #IStandWithTinubu to trend on X. He did put out a tweet saying, "Can we make #IStandWithTinubu to trend?" And that's the tweet here. Can we trend #IStandWithTinubu? There were several reactions on social media, and I'm going to take some of the reactions that some Nigerian X users had to say. So let's take some of the tweets. Alexandria says, #IStandWithTinubu is trending, ? Nigerians are not ready yet. And that's one of them. We have some others. Sarki says, I'm certain that a majority of you lack human conscience and sympathy. Wallahi. Your primary concern is your own selfish needs. As long as you're enjoying good meals and living a lavish lifestyle, the plight of the country burning down due to hunger seems to be of no concern. This is, of course, in response to Can We Trend, #IStandWithTinubu. Kenny Okolubo says, We need a holistic approach to conquer this impending recession. After Jonathan was an immediate one, Buhari survived it by borrowing to defend the naira. From the presidential villa to Shetima, same message of reassurance. Let the action begin now. Hashtag I stand with Tinubu. Hashtag resign now. There's some other reactions. This one is from Moradeo official. It says, we tried our best to see that this government did not happen to Nigeria, but all along we were gaslighted and they thought we were fools to say that Nigeria deserves a better president. Table has turned and we must chair the government. And 3 laughing emojis. Hashtag I stand with Tinubu. I believe we have a few other tweets to look at. All right. It's Esquire says, you should rather trend something that shows you are sensitive to the sufferings of Nigerians. And that's all the reaction that we're taking today. Of course, on the one hand, people are saying that Nigeria is going through a really tough time. People are looking for food to eat. There have been pockets of protests breaking out in different parts of the country. And the president has been called as the father of the nation, the leader of the people, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, to sort of step up, show us why he is the leader, to show us why Nigerians are dealing with grave insecurity issues, why Nigerians cannot afford the basic things to be able to feed. And, you know, they're now saying that you're making it more about the president, more about his profile, public profile, as opposed to the needs, wants, and desires of Nigerians. Different reactions. Well, let's hear what Osaoge thinks about this hashtag, I stand with Tinubu.
What do I think? I don't think anything. I think, I don't think anything. I think people like Adamu Garba, I feel like we should have gotten to a place as a nation where we stop paying certain people any attention. So there's certain characters that we've noticed, we've seen, we've heard from in the last couple of years, and they still have the freedom to tweet what they want, to express themselves on whatever platform that they choose. But Nigerians should have gotten to that stage where economically and generally with the state of the country, we just stop paying attention to certain people.
Right.
Because these things are really just distractions from where the kind of conversations that we truly should be having. He, of course, Adamu Garba has almost never been on the right side of anything. He supported the Buhari administration, even when it was sending Nigeria into the gutter. And if was popping, the second tweet that you read,
yes,
if that person can be against you, then it means that your views are at the bottomest barrel of the bottom. Even if, was popping has also been, one of the people who has put out some of the most disgusting and, just completely useless tweets or messages on social media.
Let's quickly move to the second one and see how many tweets we are taking. Senate deliberates 23 trillion naira ways and means. Everyone has been talking about ways and means. And just to quickly put it, it's a vehicle by which the CBN lends money to the federal government where there is a budget deficit of some sort. And it shouldn't be more than a certain percentage of the revenue of the previous year. I think 5% if I'm correct. Now, the Senate has been deliberating on whether or not to investigate into what happened in the 9th Assembly regarding ways and means. There's conversations of 23 trillion naira, conversations of 30 trillion naira. Senate says that they approved roughly 23 trillion naira, but over the years, it's accrued interest of 7 trillion naira. Now, here are some of the tweets regarding the ways and means and how Nigerians have reacted to these monies, just like trillions, billions. We're hearing a lot of money and it's quite daunting. So let's take some of the tweets regarding that. Tope Fatuberu says, any audit that will not lead to prosecution and people sentenced is a waste of time. There are many serious issues to tackle, please. We have no time and resources for all these Tom and Jerry game. The next tweet is from OGD. It says, if they don't have the temerity to question former President Buhari, they should just forget about the audits. Let's just move on. We have another tweet from GXIXA. He says, let me guess. They'll find out Buhari's signature was forged. I found this one very funny. And then there's another tweet from Tai Bayomi. He says, nowhere in the world democracy is run in this way. I was there, I was not there. 30 trillion, gone. Official EFCC, these are the real Yahoo guys you need to arrest. If you saw the video of what happened in the House, Senator Alindume, you were there in the 9th Assembly. No, I was not there. You were there. No, I was not there. It just felt like a charade of some sort. Elephant in the room is the huge public debt. Nigeria must stop fiscal dominance and deeply slash the bloated annual budget. I'm not sure politicians are ready for what is needed. Otherwise, the currency will continue to bleed. Several reactions regarding Ways and Means. They say it's not 30 trillion naira they approved, it's 23 trillion naira. In fact, they said they approved it on the premise that the government was going to bring a detailed report showing exactly what it was about. So they approved it before actually knowing what it was going to be used for. It's what it looks like. And some would say that that's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, it's mostly a joke, and once again, it's a reminder that we're not ready. This National Assembly will not be different from the previous one. There's people who would argue that it might even be worse with regards, seemingly being, rubber stamp.
Yes.
But the point is, we're not ready.
In their defense, the Senate President said, we are not a rubber stamp assembly that will just approve anything. We're going to get to the bottom of this matter.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But, the point is, it's clear that we're not ready. And I've seen more than a few people say that if you're not actually questioning former President Muhammadu Buhari, then it's a waste of time.
But how much questioning can we really do, to be honest? Like, it just feels like we're going about in circles. But Nigerians want answers. What exactly happened to the 23 trillion naira? How many projects were, these monies disbursed to? They're talking about anchor borrowers and all the other many things. Can they all give us a breakdown of what was done? And if not, can these monies be returned? There's so many technical angles to look at these conversations from, but we'd like to also take your reactions. We'll be touching on some of these stories. Maybe a repeat tomorrow or maybe a different story, but you can always be a part of the conversation by sharing your opinion at News Central TV on all social media platforms and joining on trending conversations. This is where we find out what Nigerians are saying. We'll be right back after this break to go through our newspapers. Stay with us. All right, and as we go to our newspapers, let's quickly share with you a recap of the conversations that we've had this morning on Breakfast Central.
We, of course, spoke with a guest on ensuring child safety and social welfare in Nigeria's current economic realities. And
we, of course, did just conclude what Nigerians are saying, looking at your thoughts on the ways and means and hashtag I stand with Tinubu.
Also, Edo State APC declares gubernatorial primary inconclusive, and of course, we'll be having a rerun today.
They are doing encore with PDP, but let's share with you what's coming in the next hour. Coming up next on Breakfast Central, police detain Labour Party chairman. Reports have it that he's been released.
And we'll share with you what the major stories are making the headlines across Nigeria this morning.
And later today on News Central, the programs to watch to keep you informed and entertained. Stick around with us on Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us on Breakfast Central. We're about to find out what the big stories are saying on the front pages of the newspapers, but just to mention that we'd also like you to be a part of the conversation. We will share our phone lines on the TV screen, so please call us and react to any of the stories that we're taking this morning. And joining us for the analysis of the newspapers is the publisher of CKN newspaper, Chris Kende Nwandu. It's a pleasure to have you as always.
Thank you. Rainy morning.
Rainy morning. Let's hope that we have something that will sustain that smile on your face, even though I'm sure that we won't.
It is well.
Let us start with this Nigerian newspaper. On the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, the big stories that we're looking at this morning are Edo, drama intrigues as APC, PDP pick candidates in gubernatorial primaries today. Oshomole, Tinubu against zoning of party ticket in the state. Uzodimma dropped as chair of election committee. It was about time. PDP aspirant asks court to stop exercise, alleges infraction of party guidelines. Gowon wants sanctions on Burkina Faso, Niger, orders lifted by ECOWAS. Oil theft and NPCL exposes fresh 223 illegal connections and refineries. Labour Party chair Abure arrested in Benin for attempted murder. Diesel sells at 1,153 per litre in January, says NBS. Kerosene at 4,870 naira, 83 kobo a gallon. Senate Constitution Review Panel to conclude assignment in 24 months, says Barrow. There's so many stories I want you to react to, but I think we should start with Gowon and Gowon's impact in today's Nigeria's economy or governance, I would say. A number of people have criticized him for his interference and the stance he's taking regarding governance. He did say that there were, on social media, we're seeing many reactions of people saying he shouldn't have waded in the way that he did because it seems like he's taking sides with the current administration. That's what it looks like. So talk to us about his interference, asking us for more time, and then lifting of sanctions on Burkina Faso, Niger, and others by ECOWAS.
Well, General Gowon is acting to live as an elder statesman. You don't ordinarily expect him to start criticizing government just as it were. The only person that does that is only Obasanjo. Have you heard Buhari say anything? Have you heard Goodluck Jonathan say anything? All those who are former head of state, they rather keep quiet. So, and General Gowon still remains the oldest head of state alive. Look at where he's coming from. So I'm sure he's trying to, even in his mind of mind, if any language like that, he knows that Nigerians are suffering. But we don't want to. There are so many things, and I think he has avenues of reaching out to the government, which is what most of them do. Reaching out to government and telling them the plight of the. But when you see them come out, you don't see them start criticizing government. There are avenues of passing such information. The only person that doesn't go through that route is Obasanjo. And you know he's a serial letter writer. So he rather put his own in letters and send that to Nigerians. So I wouldn't want to start blaming him. Even in the United States, you can hardly see a former president criticizing their president, whether either of the party, either Democratic or Republican. You can hardly see. I don't think you ever see.
Except when it's time for Donald Trump.
No, Donald Trump is.
No, I mean, except when Donald Trump was in office.
That's what I'm saying. That is the only exception to Donald Trump. Yes, you cannot. We are talking about presidents of the United States. Most of them are not. Donald Trump was more of a showman rather than you can see what is going through and now. And he's still very, very popular with the American. That's an average American, but not politician. Donald is not a politician. So I would rather just say that let us just let General Gowon be. But you see that he visited Villa. I'm sure that during his talk with the president, he must have let him know what Nigerians are going through, even if they seem not to know.
But I mean, that's also scary. You know, if you have to bring back General Gowon to tell you what Nigerians are going through, then what are you doing in office? I mean, if you have all the people that you've appointed, you have all your SSAs and and SAs and advisors in different parts of the country, and still none of them can tell you what Nigerians are going through. You need words from a former president. Then what exactly are you doing there? And for me, there's no way. And I don't think that that would ever make sense that the president doesn't know what Nigerians are going through. It also tells, or it's more scary to imagine that the president who's in office has been so shielded inside Aso Rock that he's not able to get the true information of what the citizens are dealing with.
There are two ways to that. You can't say that the president doesn't know what is going on. He doesn't know what is going on. He definitely knows. That is one. Two is also that his advisor is wanting to advise somebody, another thing for him to take to your advice. Number three is that most of these so-called advisors, what advice do they even give? These are just yes men, as it were, political appointees and the rest of them. Most of the time, they tell the president what he wants to hear, not what is happening, and that is the fact. You remember there was a time that Obasanjo was accused, and he said, "Oh well, I only have them as advisors, but I take my personal advice," and that is just it. So it was wanting to to appoint people, and some of them can't even look at the president in the face and tell him the reality. So even if you say that the president is not aware, doesn't he read newspapers? Okay, let us even assume that he doesn't watch television. But you see every time there are always newspapers on their tables. What do they do? Don't they glance through? So the box stops on the table of the president. If anything happens here, News Central is the managing director of News Central that will be taking, not the staff. Even if there's any infraction here, NBC will come after News Central. And the MD will be, before even talking about presenters and the rest. So that is how it works. When you buy a company, you buy both the liability and the assets. That is what it is.
All right.
If the Nigerian in me wanted to say NBC will not come after.
No.
But let's quickly, because of time, and just once again to our viewers this morning, you can call and contribute your thoughts to these conversations. The phone line is going to be on your screen right there. Or tweet this morning at News Central TV. Now let's quickly talk about what's going on in Edo State.
That is what I was
First of all, the
saying.
APC primaries, you know, that they have to, you know, once again
Redo.
because it seems like they failed.
No,
So
really
they have to
do.
do it again. And then also Julius Abure and his arrest in Edo State, you know, by a policeman.
Yes, what happened in Edo State is complete shame, total shame. In fact, if there's anything more than shame, it's shameful. Starting with APC. I'm totally disappointed with the role played by the chairman of the electoral committee, as it were, the governor of my state, Hope Uzodimma. And it's quite shameful that
Sorry, I apologize for cutting in. But let's quickly get this call from Chisom in Enugu.
Good morning, Chisom. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead with your contribution.
All right.
All right. Please call back.
Yes, as I was saying, that a governor of that status could organize such a shoddy a primary election, as it were. And he was also there with the governor of Cross River State, not just him. And at the end of it, so you just saw what happened, that it was just a total mess. Now he has been dropped from the run that is going to hold today. That speaks volume. That means certain people were compromised. That means he was compromised. And that is what most of the aspirants, even before the primary, you saw that most of the major candidates have already dropped off, including Yam, who was one of the forerunners. Yeah. Yes. So, and at the end of it, we had four candidates coming out claiming to be winners of the primary. That is shameful. But I hope that they'll right the wrong, but I doubt it. The same thing goes with the PDP. You can see what is going on between Governor Obaseki and his deputy and other aspirants. The same thing with Panant. Even the Labour Party is not faring better because a lot of allegation is going on. That is why some people felt that the arrest of the national chairman of the Labour Party yesterday was more political than anything. You know, it's just talking of murder, attempted murder, something that happened since December. It is now that you know that you're going to arrest this thing. He was there to conduct part of the conduct of the primary.
Hold our thoughts. We have Comrade Ayo Balogun calling from Abuja. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Welcome. Go ahead.
I would like to contribute to the arrest of the Labour Party chairman in Edo State. The news came out yesterday. We were told that he was arrested on attempted murder or murder. And I know under our law, if a person is arrested for murder, it is not a bailable offense. But we are hearing this morning that he has already been bailed. That means the DSS has deceived us. The arrest was not based on murder. If it's on murder, it shouldn't be on bail. I listened to the National Public Secretary of the party this morning that he has been granted bail and he's in his hotel room. So I want the DSS to clarify for us, is he on murder truly? And why is he on bail? Thank you.
That's a very valid point he's raised.
That attempted murder is not murder. There are two different things. In murder, in law, there's murder, there's manslaughter. So it's a different thing. Attempted murder is a bailable offense. He didn't kill anybody, if that is what the case is. So if it's attempted murder. But my question is that, was there a formal invitation to the Labour Party chairman by the police? Yeah. That is where it starts from. Before you can just, you cannot just see somebody on the street and just arrest him and say that, oh, you are charging him. You can see the way and manner with which you saw he was sitting down on the floor where they were trying to drag him. There's supposed to be a formal invitation. If there's somebody committing a crime, the first thing you do is formally invite the person. You are wanted, you come and answer for so. If he now refuses to obey that investment, then you cannot go after him. So the question we need to ask is that, was he formally invited by the police based on the allegation? And it's also political, because if you find out the person, those that sent in allegation or whatever that made petition, were people of the other section of Labour Party. They are Pampa, they have they are Pampa group. The youth leader of that particular group was the one that wrote the petition that made the police to arrest him. So that's why I say it's very, very political.
But what is this telling of the Labour Party?
Labour Party is a party. It's a Nigerian party, irrespective of this thing. I've always said it time with time, but there is a difference between Peter Obi and Labour Party. And that is what people don't understand. Obi movement is just a movement. Labour Party is a party. There have been allegations of financial impropriety going on within the Labour Party. by the treasurer and the chairman. And Peter Obi himself have come out to say he wants that investigated. And I should think that should be, probably we'll call in the police or whichever EFCC or whichever arm or need to investigate that. That should be investigated. But that does not necessarily mean that Labour Party as a whole is corrupt. I think that we should start taking up individuals from entities, and that has always been the issue. So the man has the treasurer has made certain allegations, including the last one. She says that there were money that they received from USA, from the United States during the election, that it has not been accounted for, and that most of them that the man has been withdrawing money from the account. That there are supposed to be two signatories, herself and the chairman, and she doesn't know how the chairman. So I think that should be properly investigated. Yeah. The police should come in, and I told their next bet. What happened yesterday was more political to me. And I believe that they're having their primaries today as well in Edo State. There are also a lot of this thing going on. You know that the chairman is also from Edo State. Most people believe that he also have some candidate, or he himself want to contest for the governorship. So none of the parties in Edo State seems to getting it right this morning. Yeah.
Well, we'll see how it turns out. Let's go to another newspaper, see what we can find. In the interest of time, the Punch newspaper, it says TUC NLC split as DSS warns Labour against planned protests. Shocking. I saw that yesterday, the message from the DSS advising against the protests. Really, really shocking. NLC took protest decision on unilaterally, TUC alleges. Interesting. Vows to stay away from demonstration. Nigeria accuses DSS of blackmail. Agency warns Labour against plot to destabilize nation. I've never seen that happen anywhere else in the world, where a security agency will be advising or warning against the democratically allowed right to protest. Motorists groan as fuel scarcity hits Lagos hard. Edo APC welcomes rerun after controversial governorship primary. Lagos prophet drowns during Valentine's Day beach hangout. Top of the screen there, Senate rejects electricity tariff hike, probes 2 trillion naira, I believe, subsidy. Anyway, let's just, in the interest of time, let's quickly get your thoughts on this one. The TUC and the NLC, seem to be at loggerheads with regards to peaceful protest, and sounds like Joe Ajero and Felix Osifo are not.
Yes, things fall apart. The center so that seems what is happening now. There's division within the labor movement, and that in itself is a sign of danger that whatever demonstration they want to make may not come out successfully, because they tried it some time ago and there was a split, even in Lagos. Yeah. So if TUC and NLC are not on the same page, then forget it. That is as good as done. I don't have any problem with NLC going on strike. It's a right, it's a fundamental right that is enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended. And every Nigerian has a right. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need the police permission. You don't need DSS permission. You don't even need the federal government, state or local government permission to demonstrate or protest in Nigeria. That has been decided even at the level of the Supreme Court. So the advisory or whatever that the DSS was neither here nor there. To me, they have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the protest. The M5 in UK cannot be telling you not to protest. Neither will the FBI in the US tell you not to protest. Nobody, there is a fundamental, is a right. The only issue is that in the course of protest, if it goes into a point where violence and rest, then you can be arrested. But that you cannot protest to go on, no, it's never, we're not even under the military. Ganifa Orimi, we joined, as a secondary school boy, I joined Ganifa Orimi at Yaba at some of the protests in those days when I was in secondary school. So I don't think DSS, I think DSS should focus more on their core mandates, which is part of internal security, helping the police to make sure that law and order is maintained and addressed.
Yeah, but it's probably just a result of the misuse of the DSS over the years.
Well, not only the DSS, even the police. What have we not misused? Even the police in India, haven't you seen ordinary citizens being guided by military men? You're having a wedding. My sister having to be, as a lady, I know you go to weddings a lot, and ceremonies. Having to go to weddings and you see that at the gate were soldiers in uniform. So I'm even carrying bags, carrying a handbag of some individuals, and that is
even though when they swear in the new IGP, he automatically recalls all the
that is what
from the
VIP. Is it the VIP? So what of the ones on checkpoints? But focusing on the, as I said, I think that. For me, I don't support the demonstration or protest of NLC. It's absolutely unnecessary. NLC have dropped the ball. they couldn't do what they ought to do at the time, and they've been taken for granted by the federal government and the government. And so that is they are playing second 11. You know what will be by second 11? Our first team, second team. In fact, they are playing third 11.
The days of glory when NLC was revered, can they get back those days?
I don't know. I think personally, despite whatever you say of Adam Oshomole, I think NLC died with Adam Oshomole. With all due respect.
Same when Abdak died with
Dora Akunyili. So there have been that kind of systematic failures within, and I have always said that we should be more interested in building institutions rather than individuals. Dora Akunyili died. Does it mean that Abdak should die? So Adam Oshomole left to become a politician or whatever. Does it mean success from Pascal Bafau to whatever the last ones and the rest of them? Have you seen any one of them? Adam Oshomole said something very fundamental when he was president. He said, once we call a strike, even if we're going to call it off, we must go for at least one day to prove a point to the government. Even if they reach an agreement with federal government or whatever government, that strike, at least one day they must go on. So that will give. But you see this one, they call strike. 24 hours before you say they're meeting, they call it off. They've done this over 4 or 5 times. So who will take them serious? That is just it. That is just it. So I think they're just playing to the gallery.
Really, really sad, though. Really sad.
All right, let's try and see if we can squeeze in one more paper this morning. On the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, federal government plans return of cash transfer. Senate rejects electricity tariff hike. That's the big story we're seeing there. And then still on the front page, we have Lassa fever kills 14 in Ebonyi. Currency outside banks drops to 3.28 trillion naira in January 2024. Enekwechi sets new African record on short puts. There's a rider to the big story. Lawmakers tell federal government to import cement. Be patient with Tinubu, Gowon pleads. We arrested Labour Party Chair Abure over possession of firearms, according to the police. At this point,
assassination to unloaded to firearms possession, there's almost nothing he's not been accused.
No, but that doesn't tell you a pattern. Remember Emefiele?
Yes.
Exactly the same. You remember Emefiele? That's the same thing.
Wow. Labour House cracks as TUC differs with NLC over 2-day protest. We are one family, says NLC. Bulls return as equity market gains 165 billion naira. Suicide, Ogun clamps down on illegal nursing institution. At the top of the paper, we have, I think that's defamation. Emefiele threatens Akpabio with 25 billion naira loss. I even want you to react to that.
Which one?
Emefiele and Akpabio. Of course, Akpabio did say some things about Emefiele and, how he'd run affairs whilst he was in governance. And then the lawyers of Emefiele, I beg your pardon, wrote a letter to Akpabio saying that without a shadow of doubt, that our client is still in court and that all these things that you said have a tendency to affect his judgments, So.
Added to that is also the one that is trending where the Senate president also said that the various protests across Nigeria have been sponsored.
Yeah.
I think that is becoming unbecoming, if I should use that word, somebody of that level. Akpabio should see himself as not just a senator, but the Senate president, the number three man.
Exactly.
Number 3 man, because whatever he says has an effect, not only within Nigeria, but across the globe internationally. And so he should be able to chew his words. As Chinua Achebe said in his book, you chew your words before swallowing. Akpabio doesn't seem to be chewing his words. Yeah. He just speaks out of, you remember the prayers.
In your email.
No, it started with main prayer then before the one email. And so I think it's unnecessary. Those that are his advisors, and that go back to what I mean when I say advisors, those advisors should be able to tell him that, Oga, once in a while, not everything, it's not everything you see me to say that you say as a leader. Because once it drops, words are just like eggs. Once it drops, you can't pack it any longer. So I think the lawyers to maybe have already spoken to me, and I'm sure that they get that resolved.
They've asked for a written apology, I believe. Do you think that Akpabio is going to apologize for his statements?
I'm not Akpabio. I'm Chris Kehinde. But ordinarily, as a statesman, it doesn't take anything from you. If you think you've erred, you have the right to just come to the trial and say, oh, I say so thing, I'm sorry.
That's if he thinks he erred.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, that it doesn't take anything from him. That's the mark of a leader. But the one that is talking about people sponsoring protests shows that they are totally disconnected with what is happening.
It may not be disconnection. It might just be pure arrogance. It might just really be, outright arrogance, knowing that, there's nothing the Nigerian people will do that threatens their position, in the Senate.
No,
that's really what it is.
You remember, that's not only, that's why I've talked about the gaps of speaking.
Yeah.
The one you also talk about, is it the placing the legs on the neck or something, should we remove something up there?
Yeah.
You remember that very one?
Yeah,
also?
I remember.
Yes, the guy has, I think, to me, the Senate is supposed to be the upper chamber of the National Assembly. But the House of Reps speaker seems to be more coordinated to me. You can hardly hear the man talk. So, but when he speaks, when he talks, people will listen to him.
Yeah.
With Akpabio now, if he talks, I might just take it or not take it. So, and that is what it has always been the reverse in the past. It's always the younger ones in the House of Representatives. Always you see them, they're boiling, shouting, fighting, and rest of them talking anyhow, quote and unquote. But it's coming from this neighborhood, and that shows that when we say that when you are picking people to lead, you don't just pick just for political exigency and the rest of them. We have to be very, very careful. That's the same thing that the man that he took over from, Ahmed Lawan. Didn't you hear when he said, whatever the president brings, we are going to approve. And you saw what where that took us to.
Chris Kehinde Nwandu, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to when we have actual pleasant news to discuss.
That's just it. We look forward to, anyway, somebody says he's going to win gold or whatever. I think that's another good news. The boxer.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So
next time, maybe we'll start from that's what.
Start from the good news.
Next one.
That's a good idea.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
All right, we'll go on a break, and when we come back, there's more to discuss this morning on Breakfast Central.
Police force has disclosed that Labour Party's national chairman, Julius Abure, was arrested for attempted murder, illegal possession of firearms, and other related offences. According to the spokesperson for the Nigerian Police Force Zone 5, Tijani Momo, Abure and 4 others were arrested yesterday afternoon in Benin City over a petition written against them by a petitioner whose name he did not mention.
Although now the reports we have are that this petition, was from Lamidi Apapa's faction. These are some of the reports that we're seeing online. And Momo added that an allegation of attempted murder was leveled against Abure, and that there are video clips, recordings of the petitioner being assaulted, being beaten when he came home last year to conduct ward matters in Edo State. He added that Abure was in possession of a short barrel gun and 3 rounds of ammunition when he was arrested. Now, just to quickly mention, the Punch newspaper has reported this morning that Abure was arrested over Lamidi Apapa's faction petition. The spokesman for Labour Party, according to the Punch newspaper, Obiora Ifo, said that the party's national chairman was arrested following a petition written against him by a faction of the party. Now, according to him, national chairman and his Edo State counterpart were arrested after having a meeting with a team of DSS services and police officers. We did talk about this in depth when we were, of course, reviewing the papers this morning. And like we said, it's just a reflection of, 1, the drama happening in the Labour Party. 2, to an extent, many would argue that it's highly politicized. And the way and manner in which the arrest was carried out was very inhuman. Our guest did raise a valid perspective as to whether or not he was being offered an opportunity to come and answer to the police. But the manner in which he was arrested is something that even the Labour Party flag bearer, Peter Obi, had spoken up against in a series of tweets, where he, of course, did admit that if the law enforcement agents have an investigation, he's totally in support of them carrying out the investigation, but not in the dehumanizing manner in which it was carried out, seeing him sprawled on the ground and all that struggle and tussle back and forth was very embarrassing, to put it quite mildly.
Yeah, very embarrassing. I wish there was a word that, would maybe express, I don't know what the word is, that is 100 times worse than embarrassing, but that's, a way to describe it. And it's shameful, also, that we are still at this level of politics and politicking in 2024. It's shameful, seeing that Nigeria hasn't grown or progressed beyond this level of gutter politics and gutter, policing and gutter way of carrying out activities in 2024. So nothing really has changed between 1999 and today.
Nope.
Nothing really has changed with the level of politics or with the level of policing or level of investigation, the Criminal Justice Act. Nothing really has changed. We're still seeing policemen dressed like thugs. There's nothing. Look, if you play that video a million times, you will not see one individual in that video clip that looks like he should be a policeman. None. No. And I don't know if any other person has seen it, but that video clip shows thugs, armed thugs, carrying out, whatever they call, it's an arrest. There's nobody there's a policeman. So for me, it's a combination of all these things. It's not just, the embarrassing way that he was arrested. It's not just the fact that he was arrested. It's not just, the fact that it's Labour Party's chairman. It is the fact that this really shows that we are still where we were in 1997. We are still in the same position that we were, in 1994, in 2024. And these are things that should not be ignored. And it's one of the things that makes it sickening to still have these things happen. We have, of course, Imo great Jonathan joining us this morning to share his views on these issues. Good morning, Mr. Jonathan. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
Thank you. Good morning to our viewers, and my pleasure to be here.
All right. Kindly go ahead. I was saying that it's a show of shame that occurred yesterday. With the arrest of Julius Abure. And of course, there have been many reactions, including from Peter Obi. But let's get your reaction to this. The police has released a statement saying that he was arrested for, attempted murder, possession of firearms, many things. Do all these things fall in line with what you saw yesterday?
Well, we live in a country where we play a lot of politics. And we're literally not sensitive to the issues of the moment. I know that no Nigerian is above the law, be it Julius Abure, be it any other citizen. If any crime has been committed by Julius Abure, I will always be in support that he be arrested, he be questioned. If he has been petitioned according to the police, there is a petition against his person and alleging this kind of crime, that is attempted murder, he deserves to answer to it anyway. But what is surprising is that if he has been petitioned, there has not been news. There haven't been petitioned. He has been invited by the police to answer to the petition, because it is not a case where somebody was caught on the scene of crime, committing any crime, but it's a case of an allegation. It's a petition. I've related with petitions over and over. In fact, in the city of Abuja, in about 2015 or 2017 or thereabout 16, our office was petitioned by a high-profile person who worked in the presidency, and I was in Lagos. When I returned to Abuja, we decided to answer, and particularly we were invited to the Inspector General of Police Office. That was during the time of Solomon Arashe. We went there with our lawyers. We responded to the issues, and that is the nature of petition. That somebody has been petitioned, not that the person was caught at the scene of crime, but now there is something that marvels me. What makes this arrest very suspicious is that why the police are alleging that he has been petitioned. The police spokesman in Edo State, Tijani, used a particular language where he said the factional chairman of Labour Party. This is what is a statement coming from the Nigerian police that knows that there is one party chairman recognized by the INEC, by every court of competent jurisdiction in Nigeria. For police to come on the national television to describe the Labour Party chairman is very, very intriguing. That is number one. Number two, that there has been allegations against him. Is there on record Is it on record? He has been invited. That he has been called upon by the police prior to this moment in Edo to come answer to the applications in a petition according to the police. Then the manner of arrest is tantamount to an ambush. Tantamount to an ambush. Number one, having first described him as a factional party chairman. Number two, having said that it's a petition. Number three, having said he was arrested because he was in possession of firearms and all the rest. There are three issues that need to be queried, and I think Nigerians need to be intelligent enough. But we must be careful. Having understood where we are coming from, the 2023 general election has exposed the weakness of people in government and their inability to absorb opposition and to allow democracy to thrive in Nigeria. These are the issues that are challenging for me. Not that Abure cannot be petitioned, not that Abure cannot be arrested, not that Abure cannot be charged, even concerning any other thing. The party has so many other issues that Abure has been involved in, but we know that the outcome of 2023 presidential election was literally a kind of, it shook the political establishment in Nigeria, and this time Abure has been the partner of Labour long before this time. Labour Party have resisted long before this time. But because the generality of Nigerians chose it as a platform to challenge the political establishment, hence I am not surprised that some political attempts are being made to kill the dream of Nigerian young people, not the Abure himself, because he's simply, sitting on the symbol, or leading the symbol for which the Nigerian youth have chosen to use to challenge the political establishment in Nigeria. Hence, I'm suspicious of this arrest because it is a petition. Under the law, he has a right to respond to the petition, and there is no evidence anywhere that he has been informed by police that there is a petition against him. And the petition in question is a serious issue in question, attempted murder. And there is no evidence that he has refused to respond to it. And then for police spokesperson Tijani in Edo State to address him as a factional party chairman speaks volume. And hence, arresting him with
Yeah, Mr. Jonathan. If you can hear us, I also want to ask, it's the arrest is not just out of the blues. If you remember, in the last couple of weeks, there have also been corruption allegations, brought against Julius Abure by, other members of the party. I remember, I think Eradiru Dengs also, I think also hinted on something similar. What do you interpret all these things as? Do you think, that this has also put a dent on the image of Julius Abure prior to the events of yesterday? And how do you think this would affect the image of the party from other Nigerians who maybe had supported the party in the past?
Okay. There is, when we went to school, we were taught quantitative and qualitative reasoning. It is only an unintelligent mind who takes things from the literary point of view. When you look at things going on in Nigeria, you need to dissect them properly for it to make sense. And now, we have a case that you had mentioned prior to this one, which is different. The facts of these cases are different. There have been a case of the APA group. There have been a case of the candidates that are also accusing him. There have been a case of the what they call them, the treasurer to the party. There are so many cases coming up against Abure. Now the challenge is not to say that Abure does not have a case to answer. No, Abure must have a case to answer. But what is intriguing is for us to have the background knowledge to this point. Prior to 2023, Labour Party had existed, and Abure was its chairman. There were no factional dragging. There were no treasurer accusing. And even the challenge is that in the political party affairs in Nigeria, we know how these things are run. Where there is a problem, you write the party, there are party structures. Like in every other party, there are party mechanisms for resolving this. You see somebody going on television, going to the police, going to the court without exhausting the mechanisms within the party, including the National Working Committee and the National Executive Council of the party, without exhausting these processes of party mechanisms to resolving these issues. When you see people jumping right, please, something is ominous. That is number one. That is not to say Abure has not in case to answer, but also note that prior to this time, nobody talked about Abure. And if you see Abure as the as the objective matter, then you make something.
Mr. Imogre Jonathan, sorry, we'd have to interject at this point because we've come to the end of the show. We have run out of time. But thank you for joining us on the show and sharing your thoughts. I would definitely love to have you back again at a later time.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
All right. As we come to the end of the show, it's important that we share with you what's happening later today. But before we do, we have a very special shout out from one of us here. Her name is Amazing, and she'd like to give a special shout out to her father, and it's his birthday today. So from all of us here, we want to say happy birthday to Dr. Joe Otukwe from his wonderful daughter, Amazing, who has been amazing to us on the set here.
Happy birthday, Amazing Daddy.
Yes, happy birthday, sir. Now let's share with you what's happening later today.
Many more happy years.
Yes, many years, many years. Let's share with you what's happening today, later today on News Central.
Yes, of course, Jasiri comes up at 10 a.m.
And away from Jasiri, that's of course the best show with the biggest women and men around the continent sharing big stories. All right, we've come to the end of today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. It's a very rainy Thursday here, so please be safe. There's going to be lots of flooding. If you don't have to go out, sit down in your house by all means. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaugi Ogbawa.
Have a good day.